A guy who played with me before, Jake Heaps, he's really a guru. He really played the game.
The Guru.
He's making too many big mistakes. What can you possibly be thinking in this moment?
Bob, Groz, and Tom's weekly conversation with Jake Heaps.
He played in the NFL, played quarterback, was in the room with me, was in the fire. He really knows what he's doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Guru.
He's with us every week here on 710 ESPN Seattle with Bob, Groz, and Tom, and he joins us on the Zeke's Pizza Hotline. He is the Guru, Jake Heaps. Jake, how are you, man?
Hey, doing great, guys. How are you doing?
Doing really well. I mean, the Seahawks got a win. It wasn't pretty. There were some concerning elements to the game, and I saw you tweeted about, and then I retweeted Pro Football Focus and their evaluation of the offensive line. It says the offensive line allowed 10 pressures, 1 sack, 4 hits, 5 hurries on 24 dropbacks in Week 1, ranking 31st in pass blocking efficiency. What happened? Because we talked about how great they were after Week 2 last year. They were great. They were great through the preseason, and then they couldn't have looked more discombobulated in this game. What happened?
There's no doubt about that. There's 2 simple answers, and we'll dive into that a little bit. One, simply they just got out-physicaled in this game. And I think that was probably the most surprising element of this one. On the other side of the ball that they have a good group, that they have Geno Atkins, they have the Sam Hubbard who played really, really nicely for them, and Carlos Dunlap. But ultimately, they were one of the worst defensive units in the NFL last year. So although that is a talented unit up front, you still think that the Seahawks, one of their greatest strengths, which is the offensive line, would not get out-physicaled by their defensive line. So that was a big surprise. And it wasn't just one player. It wasn't just, Jermaine Ifedi or Ethan Posick. It was Dwayne Brown. It was Justin Britt. It was guys that you just simply do not expect to get pushed around like that. And then the second thing is easy assignment errors. I mean, easy protection breakdowns that ended up happening that led to multiple sacks in the game, and that's where it really is cause for concern. But when you look at this, I think that the second part is an easy fix. The mental errors, the breakdowns, you're going to look at that on tape, and trust me, they're going to get coached extremely hard. They're going to be frustrated about that and want to fix it. But number 2, the physicality standpoint, that's something that you can't quite put a finger on exactly why that happened. And the only thing that you can determine is they need to come with a better attitude. They need to come with a mindset ready to go for the game. And the only thing that I can really pinpoint, guys, is as an explanation as to how could this have happened is, one, give credit to the other side of the ball. Those guys played extremely tough all game long and played with their hair on fire. And 2 is the fact that these guys just didn't play enough snaps in the preseason together. And I think that kind of rush showed off in a big way. Stacey Ross actually interviewed Dwayne Brown in the locker room after the game and kind of laid that out. Hey, you guys just didn't get a whole lot of snaps in the preseason together, and Dwayne Brown wasn't having it. And he just was like, look, no matter what the circumstances are, this is a veteran group. Every single one of us have played in this league, and there's simply no excuses for the type of performance. So with that understanding of Dwayne Brown, I know that this is going to get fixed. I don't think that this is going to be an issue that you're going to look at moving forward. But I will say this. You're facing the Pittsburgh Steelers, guys, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have led the league in sacks the past 2 seasons with 55 and 52 sacks over the last 2 seasons. And so this is a group that's going to present some problems. And these guys and the Seahawks need to respond in a big way. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing to kind of help out their offensive line and get themselves back on track and in a rhythm.
I mean, they want to run block better, and I mean that's probably the best way to get it started. But yeah, I mean, other teams didn't play their starters, and they did fine during the week, so I don't think that holds much water either. It's a real curious thing when you bring it up that way because this is a unit that did play together last year and always seemed to have the physical edge last year. I mean, I can't think of a game last year where they weren't physically dominant.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even in the first 2 games where they struggled as an offense, it didn't really have much to do with being out physicaled in the run game. It was just the offense really not finding its identity. So this is really a kind of a shock for this unit, like you said, Groz. And so for me, that's where the only thing I can say is a mentality, is coming into this game, understanding, kind of, with you coming in with your mind right, ready to go to war for, 60 minutes. And so, I don't anticipate this being an issue for them moving forward. But it is interesting when we talk about this offense and we talk about, in year two, what is it going to evolve? Is the adaptability level going to be there? And I think in week one, it simply was not. Pete Carroll in his press conference said we were basically arrogant about the way that we tried to approach this game and tried to run the football down their throat. And after, the 11th time of it not working and them getting, manhandled at the line of scrimmage, are you going to sit there and go, okay, we might need to take a different approach into this game? So I think those are the types of things that I think led to some boos for fans at some point in time. They looked discombobulated, and it was very shocking against a Cincinnati Bengal team that was literally coming in here, limping from injuries that they had sustained, throughout the preseason and training camp. So, Seahawks have been notorious for playing up and down to their opponent, and they're going to have quite a challenge on their hands, going into week two on the road at Pittsburgh. I don't care what the outcome was like for week one for the Steelers. This is going to be a tough challenge for the Seahawks.
I heard Pete Carroll yesterday when we were talking about the safeties and the issues that Tedrick and Trey Flowers, or not Trey Flowers playing corner, but the issues that the secondary was having yesterday. Just take a listen to this bite.
How seriously would you look at other options there, like Leno Hill, I guess?
No, we're playing ball. We're not talking about that. Seriously.
What is Pete already? I mean, is he already annoyed by questions about the safety situation?
Yeah.
Sounded like it.
I'm sure it's part frustration on his end, and that the fact that they're having to talk about this, and I think it's also part frustration in terms of the fact that this has been brought up so many times, and unfortunately, it's going to continue if this doesn't get answered. And I think with Tedrick Thompson, unfortunately, in his career, look, I hate to condemn anybody, at this point in their career, but, Tedrick Thompson came into this league. I mean, that's the fascinating thing about this guy. He came into this league. The number one thing about Tedrick Thompson was that he was a ball-hawking safety. Well, in the game on Sunday, he didn't show great ability to have a great nose, a knack to get the football. I mean, Andy Dalton laid up as easy of an interception as possible. Obviously, Tedrick Thompson misjudges it, and it goes in for a wide open, touchdown. But Tedrick throughout the game was out of sorts in terms of his alignments and responsibilities, and those are the types of performances that you just can't have. He basically confirmed to you what you were seeing, towards the middle of the year and in the end of the year, and that's why he ended up losing his job. And so when you look at this moving forward, I think really in my belief, I believe that if Leno Hill responds really well to the opportunity in practice this week, that Leno's going to be the starting safety next to Bradley McDougald. That's just my feel. I think that with Tedrick Thompson, he's shown you, kind of who he is, and now it's time to give somebody else an opportunity to, really see if they can solidify that role, and that the Seahawks can move forward from, the easy mistakes that are happening out there. So I think the secondary was an issue that we all kind of anticipated. It was one that we had questions about, and unfortunately, it showed through in a major way. But look, they were able to walk away with a win despite giving up 400 yards, passing. I think a lot of it, just had to do with big mental errors, and and those are the things that end up costing you games. And luckily for the Seahawks, it didn't.
Hey, what's the big difference between Tedrick and Leno Hill? I got to be honest, I'm not dazzled by either. I know Leno's not been.
I'm not either.
Yeah, I mean Leno's not been out there as much, obviously dealing with injuries. But when he has been out there, I feel like they're just guys. With all due respect, they're nice guys, but I don't feel like you have your answer. Is Blair the answer, and these guys are placeholders?
Well, I do think that Blair is the overall answer. The problem and the frustration that I have with Blair at this current time is if they felt that they could put him out there, guys, if they felt that he was on any level with Tedrick and Leno, they would do it in a heartbeat. Talent-wise, it's no question. But mentally, in terms of knowing his assignments and them being able to trust that he's gonna do the right thing, is not there right now, or else he would be the starter, hands down, no question. So with that being said, I think you really have to give Leno Hill an opportunity, and that puts Bradley McDougald back there at free safety, which I think the one positive in that is Bradley's a more instinctual player. He's going to trust what he is seeing and react to that. And Leno Hill is a pretty good downhill tackler. He's a sure downhill tackler. So I think that's the one thing that he has going for him in terms of his coverage ability and all that. We need to see him out there to really get a good judge and sense of what he can do coming back from this injury, in my opinion. So I think that's a big factor for this team moving forward is really shoring up that position.
You talk about McDougald being the free safety. I like him better in that spot. I don't know where he prefers to be, but do you see a dramatic difference in him from strong to free?
Yeah, he actually prefers to play strong safety, and I think that's the best position for him ultimately. He can do both and play it both at a very high level. So for this team right now, with the guys that they have, I think him playing free safety is the best thing, with a Marquise Blair or a Leno Hill playing at strong safety. But he's a very, very good strong safety. He plays well in the box, and he does a fantastic job, covering in the slot. So that's why he, likes to play that role. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing, the musical chairs that they play, back there at that safety position. And, I tell you what, despite what happened to secondary guys, I am really, really excited about what happened on the defensive line. I thought that those guys, as big of a question mark as they were, I mean, they played lights out, especially in the running game. Jadeveon Clowney was a huge factor in this one, and so that got me very excited, and I'm really looking forward to what this group can do, heading into the next couple weeks.
Yeah, let's stay with that. Quinton Jefferson I thought he was the player of the game.
Yeah, he had an unbelievable motor throughout the game, Groz. It was really fun to watch. I'm really happy for him. He was a rookie when I first got to Seattle, so getting to know him and him and his family and kind of his background, I'm just really happy for him and kind of a crucial year for him. But I think the X factor and all that, which allowed Quinton Jefferson to have such a great game, was Jadeveon Clowney. He attracted the double teams. He really was disruptive on that defensive line, and like I said, it gave Quinton Jefferson an opportunity to make plays. And when you have a guy like Quinton Jefferson who's so versatile, we talk about L.J. Collier being able to play the 5 technique, being able to play 3 technique. That's what Quinton Jefferson can do for you as well. And so if he can continue to grow and develop, and you add Ziggy Ansah into this mix, I mean, guys, your depth is getting really, really good along this defensive line. So I think that was a great positive for this group moving forward, and hopefully you continue to see that kind of effort from Quinton Jefferson. He's going to find himself a couple more sacks, and from the guy that we saw, I know. You try not to overreact from 1 week, but I see this guy as an easy 5-sack guy if he continues to play with that kind of motor.
What about Russell? I feel like the one guy we haven't talked about all that much has been Russell Wilson, whether it's on Twitter or in here or wherever. Did he look like himself out there?
Yeah, I thought he played really, really good football despite what was going on around him. I think the reason why I didn't feel that way is because you didn't have as many traditional big plays. The offense, like I said before, was out of sorts in terms of, the pass protection. So it really limited the Seahawks in terms of what they wanted to do in their offensive approach. But despite all that, you look at the stat line, and Russell threw for 2 touchdowns. He had a 130 passer rating. His completion percentage was right where you would want it to be. I mean, the way that he played gave this team a chance to win, and obviously, with the big plays to DK Metcalf down the field to move the chains. I mean, he did just enough for this team to win, make the right decisions, put them in a good place to walk away with the W, despite the offense performing so poorly. So, the other guy that stepped up along with him was DK Metcalf. I mean, gosh, the one play that I think everybody was probably holding their breath was the scramble and throw down the middle where DK had to make the catch, with the guy draped all over him and the safety coming down on him. That was a critical play in that moment. And so I thought that, Russell handled it very well. He weathered the storm. Obviously you don't want to see too many performances like that. You want to continue to give your top 5 quarterback more opportunities to sit back there in the pocket and do what he does best. But overall, I thought he played a very, very good game.
My only complaint with Russell, Jake, is that it seemed like there were moments where he had opportunities on the edge in green grass in front of him if he chose to take off. Instead, he would he would hand that ball off to Carson or Penny or whoever and let them run into the middle of the pile. It looked like it, and maybe he was seeing something completely different, so I'll defer to him. But what did you see?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he passed up opportunities.
Yeah, Bob, it was actually kind of my reaction as well. I felt that way too initially, and then I went back and watched the tape, and actually the Cincinnati Bengals did a really good job of bringing a safety down to really, kind of spy. So it allowed the defensive ends to be more aggressive, and so it really, for Russell, he didn't have a whole lot of opportunities for himself to keep it. He had one other opportunity to keep the ball, which I thought he should have pulled, but outside of that, I was with you, Bob. I thought there were maybe like four different opportunities. I was wondering why he didn't keep it. And, looking back at the tape, there was really only one. I thought he should have pulled it towards the end of the game. But, Russell is always going to pick his spots in terms of when he is going to pull that football. And I think for fans last year, it was kind of a concern or a worry that he wasn't running the ball enough. And obviously, when he pulls the ball, he's dangerous, and it keeps that defense honest. So the Cincinnati Bengals just had a really good game plan for the Seahawks, honestly. And, the physicality was there and the scheme was there. And so the Seahawks are definitely going to have to go back to the drawing board on offense and make sure that this type of output doesn't happen again and that they have answers for when things go off.
They couldn't have hoped for a better debut from DK Metcalf, could they have?
No, honestly, I mean, here's the thing. Did he have the greatest performance of all time? No. I mean, he didn't have 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards receiving, but what he did show you guys is that he can definitely play in this league and be a factor. And, catching a go ball down the sideline, winning your one-on-one slants, and one time, he's winning a slant with the guy draped all over him. He's winning another slant and creating great separation because of the technique that he used on that particular play. He, made a big scramble play for Russell Wilson. He did just enough to really open things up, and I think in the future he's going to be able to continue to draw coverage his way to free Tyler up more and more. And this is exactly what Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf needed. Is they needed success on the field together to feel confident, to grow with one another. And so it just got me very excited for everything moving forward. And so my predictions have been very strong about DK Metcalf and what he can do and what he'll be for this offense. And that only remains, that only holds, even more true for me now. I feel more steadfast about that DK is going to be a big factor for this offense the entire year.
When you need to reheat pizza, do you throw it in a conventional oven or a microwave oven?
Or a toaster.
Or a toaster.
If I need to reheat something?
If you need to reheat a piece of pizza.
Oh, yeah, a conventional oven for sure.
You wouldn't put it in a toaster in one of the actual slots for a...
No. A toaster? Heck no.
Jim Moore apparently does that.
Who's doing that?
Jim Moore?
Jim Moore?
Yeah.
Man, I always knew there was something just off about that guy. I didn't know quite what it was. It was the fact that he's putting pizza in a toaster. What's going on?
Somebody said Jake's a guru. He has somebody else reheat his pizza for him.
Oh, no, I don't think so. How does that...
I don't trust anybody to handle that. I make sure I take care of that myself.
How does Russell Wilson prefer his reheated pizza, do you think?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know how often he has reheated pizza these days.
Can you oh, that's true. He'll just throw it out. He can get another pizza.
I mean, he might throw it out. I don't even know if he... I'm sure he does eat pizza, but, I mean, they got him on a pretty strict diet these days.
Yeah, once in a while you can have a little pepperoni.
Yeah, listen, $35 million a year, somebody will reheat it for you. In that case. He doesn't handle that dirty stuff himself. Hey, Jake, as always, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Take care.